Excuse me. She wants your attention. Good evening. Welcome to Auroville Festival 2023. This year, Auroville's festival is the theme of the festival is the first quality of mother's symbol, sincerity. And we are today on the day 6 of the event. And every day we have a theme, and today it is dedicated to Mahakali, and the theme of the day is power. And in the city conversation, we are going to talk about the aspect of industrial zone. And I have with me Nahar, Uma, Prasad, and Debo to discuss various aspects of the industrial zone. In this session, let us explore the dynamic of power generated by the units which participate actively by contributing their income towards the development of the township. We need to strengthen our domain of abundance and prosperity. As we struggle through, our understanding of power will evolve as an attribute of Mahakali's grace for each one to freely organize life not according to his or her financial means, but inner capabilities and capacities. And let me introduce, for the ones who are new here, the format is such that we will look at the aspirational aspects of the industrial zone, why Mother has dedicated a zone for the industry, what is the aspirational value, it cannot be just to generate income. And then we will also look at it. I would like to hear your initial thoughts about it, and I would like you to reflect on this industrial zone from two aspects. What do you think are the aspiration for us from an individual perspective, and what is the aspiration from a collective perspective? And then from there, we will slowly go into the how aspects. What are the roots, what are the aspects we need to have so that we can achieve that higher aspiration that we have in Auroville for the industrial zone. And in the end, we will look into the immediate, the doables, the things that we need in place, the things that we need to manifest so that we can reach the summit that Mother has set for us. Yeah. May I now invite Debo to share his views, his aspirations for the industrial zone. And you may also begin with a brief introduction about yourself. Yeah, enough. Yes.
Good evening or good afternoon. I am Debo. I grew up in the ashram. After my graduation, I was in Auroville for a year. Then I went out, I studied, and then I came back to Auroville. The 1 year where I was in Auroville, I was part of CSR, and we did a lot of applied research projects that can be useful to improve the efficiency of the products. In my opinion or my view, the little I know, the industrial zone will be a place where we have the industries to build the city till the city is being built, and later on the industrial zone, the industries will come up, which will become slowly how to move Auroville to become more self-sufficient.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
So individually, collectively, we need to become more self-sufficient.
Yes.
But perhaps individually, that's not the aspiration. Economically, to be self-sufficient, is that? What is your view? What is our aspiration individually for the industrial zone?
Individually, I feel the industrial zone will be first enabling the city to be built.
Yeah.
So we'll have the industries which will build the city. I mean, we'll have the industries which will like metal. Suppose we need carpentry workshops or metal fabrication workshops or any other workshop which needs to be built to build a city. That needs those kind of industries we need in the beginning,
Right.
and later on they will change their nature and then with it will more contribute to the economy of Oroville as we grow.
Right. Well said. So this industrial zone, the aspiration is that we can create enough abundance so that we can manifest the city, which requires a lot of resources to be manifested. Now, may I come to you, Prasad?
My name is Prasad, and I joined Oroville in 1989, and I went to Australia and I lived there for 20 years. Mainly, I went there to understand the Western way of doing things, especially organization. I did my studies, and I became a CEO for an organization, and I came back. When I came back, I really wanted to see if we can accelerate the city building. I came here for the city. I want to build the city. So I started an organization called Oromira, and we built Sunship and Kalpana, two of the biggest housing projects. We had 150 people working, and I wanted to modernize. But what happened was that after that, there is nothing happening in Oroville. So I went back. There's nothing to do. I was feeling like stagnated. So I went back. Then for some reason, I was brought back for 150th birthday of Sri Aurobindo, and I reached here on 5th of December. For me, that's a very decisive day. And now I feel very confident. The darkness is lifted. And now, with the help of industries, we should go to the point of no return as far as the city is concerned. When I mean point of no return, it means we need to complete Matri Mandir. We still need to complete 6 more parks of Matri Mandir. We need to complete the lake. We just managed to finish 10% of the lake. I was involved in that. I'm very honored to be involved in the lake.
Okay.
And then we need to finish the crown and 12 radials and outer ring road, then line of force. And also we need to focus on our industrial zone. For me, as a town planner, I'm not a town planner, working for Lavaniti Oroville, I feel industrial zone is one of the misused zone of all the 4 zones. So we need to repurpose. We need to reset, basically, Oroville. Oroville was going on the wrong direction, but I feel 5th of December is the day the reset button was pressed. So I feel that we need to develop an industry, as Debo said, which focus on our needs. Whatever we produce should be catered for Oroville, and excess should be given out, like Mother said. So this is what I feel about the industrial zone.
Thank you.
Namaste. My name is Uma. I came to Oroville in 96 for 2 weeks as a to do a design project in Oroville, and 2 weeks is still on. I'm trained as a fashion designer, so I ended up creating a studio of conscious clothing in Oroville. For me, work has been a pathway of my yoga. When I read Sri Aurobindo, integral yoga and all life is yoga, I questioned or asked myself, will money or business will take me to my path of evolution? And if it is that so, what would be a conscious business be? And my work had been in search in that direction of what a model of conscious business can be born in Oroville. And over a period of time, what I've learned is not what we do is important, but the aspect of yoga. And if we're needing to make the money, she will make us to do that as well. But this growing while doing business, I questioned myself, business, I did not come to Auroville for doing that, so I must have been a fallen angel, that I'm not good for anything greater, so she gave me this as a job. And there was a conflict, a classic one of not having a healthy or a spiritual relationship with money. We still lack, we have a lot of work to do in this. But over a period of time, what I understood, that if money has to be transformed, the yoga must come in. And Auroville is a living example of that as a ground where new businesses will come as a part of yoga, not just a business at any cost and make money at any cost. No, we are not here for that. I'm not denying that resources should not be developed. We have to. But what we need to do first is to make the base where yoga can happen in a difficult domain called power and money. And that has been Auroville's the work. How I see right now, we have a long way to go. But we have managed to create pockets of excellence, even that we didn't have a large infrastructure as a community support to our industrial zone. We still don't have. We have never thought about it. Units of Auroville is a child of individuals who have dreamt of it and have put all their energy and all their capacity to create what they managed to create. If you really want to do industrial zone looking at, as Prasad says, and as Devu say, we have to put our energy towards it. And I'm very glad that we are starting a conversation in that direction. So far, it was something which we have been shying away. So my joy today is that on birthday week of Auroville, we are choosing to talk about money, business, and industrial zone of Auroville. It's symbolically profound. Thank you so much for Lakshya.
Thank you. Yes, Nahar.
Hi, my name is Nahar. I came to Auroville in 2009 as a 9-year-old kid, and I've lived here ever since. I went to a very alternative route of Auroville education, so I come with no degrees. In the last year, I've started a unit by the name of Kojimpa. We make natural soft drinks, and we're now expanding into doing white label manufacturing for other units so that it's easy for people to get food products made, and they don't have to put in all of the effort to develop infrastructure. My belief is Auroville cannot exist without the industrial zone, simply because for me the 4 zones are the 4 representations of the aspects required for society to function: creating, living, interacting, and learning. Without creating, we would be starving. We need to make food, we need houses to live in, we need bikes to move around. If we have none of that, we are in a dysfunctional society, and we will be cash negative, and we will cease to exist. I think it is of paramount importance that we start investing very heavily into our industrial zone so that we move into a cash positive society in abundance. One of the big issues with Auroville and the present situation we find ourselves in is that we're in a starvation society, because no one has money, and everyone is trying to fight for the money. And whenever we see someone who makes money, we're like lobsters trying to pull them down. That is out of that, nothing good can come. What I feel is it's really important that we start building ethical industries that start bringing cash in, and that we can move to an abundant society where everyone has enough. Because one thing that cannot be said about Auroville right now is that living on the maintenance lets you live any kind of a comfortable life in 2021. 2023 actually.
Yeah.
Worse inflation. Even worse. So I think it's something we really have been ignoring for way too long. We think money is the big evil. What mother said, money is an impartial force. I found something really interesting while looking to what she said about money. Is she was answering the question, can we take money from people who have gotten it through ill means? And what she said is, money is impartial. If we accept it or not depends on our consciousness. But the money has no good or bad. It just
connected to
is.
it. Mm.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. If I may go back to Debo. Debo, you studied in ashram school. You grew up in Pondi. I want you to now please throw some light on when you have this industrial zone. It's a place of work. What is the nature of work in Auroville? What is the role of work per se, according to you? And also, if you may juxtapose it with the role of money in Auroville.
The work is, as in for us, I feel, karma yoga. I think it's already explains what work means for us. We do work is part of our sadhana, part of our journey, and how the perfection can be reached through our work, and every day putting the effort to make it more beautiful, more efficient, more conscious.
Yeah.
And that's what work means to me. I mean, whatever I understand.
Sincerity towards
Yeah,
your
every day.
vocation.
Yeah.
Or whatever you do.
Whatever you do, and every day trying to improve it, and in every aspects. And one of the best way to see that is beauty. Once you have whatever you do, even if you are making industrial zone, which is lot of hardware, but if there is beauty in it,
Yeah.
it is, I feel we are still trying to express divine through our work, And when you asked about money, I feel money is a power, and most of the time we feel that I don't know from where it has come, but it has been put that money is something evil.
Yeah.
And we look down upon the people who are generating money, or but money could be utilized for doing a lot of positive things also.
Yeah.
And we need to be conscious how we can learn to spend that money well. We can have a lot of money, but we don't know how to spend it well. But we can have a little bit money, but if you know how to spend it well, I think the impact could be much greater. And that understanding, if we start slowly having, I feel that even the little money we have, whatever, we can actually have a much greater impact.
Do you also think that it's a kind of an external idea that money is somewhere associated with sin and a little bit of shame, and traditionally we always took wealth as a form of grace and as a form of an ability given by grace, so that we can then use that resource properly. And in that sense, we in the industrial zone, the role of money is to generate it as much as possible so that we can bring prosperity and abundance in our community, so that we can build, like he said, a lot is coming from the space of fear and scarcity, and many people vying for limited resources.
I feel if we educate ourselves that money can be utilized for good, then automatically we produce, we can produce beautiful things.
Right.
And but if you are been told all the time we have scarcity of money and we are living a little bit, and that fear gets into people, and then we act very differently. I feel that has to be done. Okay, whatever little we have got, whatever it is, how we can actually spend it well. Even that 1 rupee, how it can be utilized well.
Correct.
But you can just blow away 100 rupees, but even 10 rupees you can utilize well, you can have a much greater impact with 10 rupees than the 100 rupees.
Nice. If I may now come to Prasad, taking a cue from what he said we need to educate that the role of money plays an important role in Auroville in that sense. Though mother said no money in Auroville. And then you are part of ATDC also. And then when you look at projects, when you look at developing the city right now, how much importance do you lay on the fact that the cultural zone, the schools and educational systems and the industrial zone are not kept apart, so that they can,
Okay.
so that the joy of work and the role of money can be imparted to the young ones from early age, and they become money wise.
Money, mother said no money in Orwell. That doesn't mean that we should not deal with money. Money is a force. Originally, mother said the money is the force belongs to the divine. We need to use that force at the service of divine.
Right.
And I remember that when Satprem was offered some pension, and he asked mother whether should I accept this pension from France, and mother said, you accept it. Because the fact that you are getting this money from France is going to help France, even though the France has no clue that this money, small amount of money is coming to mother. Now I'm so happy that money is coming from India to Oroville in a big way. I know personally that we have put a request for 1,800 crores.
1,737.
Okay, you are involved in that. I'm rounding it up. And so I feel it's going to benefit India in a large scale, in a large way. And also we are growing in a breakneck speed at the moment, India, as an economy. So this money should be now channeled to India. And as you said, that it should go to youngsters, so that I don't think that they should be money wise. My children don't have no clue about money. All I told them was that my responsibility is that you don't need to work for money. That's what I did. The reason why I left Oroville, why I went and lived in Australia, was to have the financial independence. I don't think Oroville kids should be money wise. They should be focusing on developing their consciousness and using the money as a force at the service of the divine. That's what I feel.
Thank you. Uma, coming back to you, when I meant money wise, I didn't mean money wise in a conventional sense. I meant the wisdom of true value of money. How do we ensure that the kids, the young generation, are also not touched by the, so-called sin associated with money, and really understand that it's a resource, it's a power. Uma, mother also said that the first priority is to produce for Oroville itself, and then the excess goes out and it generates income for Oroville. You are running an enterprise for many decades now. How do you look, and what were the challenges, and where did we falter? Right now, even the farm or even the basic necessities are not being met by our units, the needs of our Orovillians. Where did we falter, and how do you think we can fall back in line?
I'm not old enough living in Oroville. I came in 96, and so it's 27 years. But I'm told, or I have heard a couple of times, that it is in 78, community took a very conscious decision to go for cash. And it compromised in that decision that we will produce for Oroville. But decision was taken, we need some cash, and let's focus on that. So I would suggest that this deep question has to go back into and ask people who were there in that 78 conversation what has happened and what the decision we took. Right now, not right now, in 96 when I began, or 97, and it was birth year of Upasana, a conscious clothing brand. I wanted to make clothes for Orovillian. And we already had a setup of Nandini. There was a time when I went back to Nandini and offered to make organic cotton-based cloth line for Oroville on the cost price as a contribution, as a unit from my side. It was denied. I was told, let's focus on cash. And it came from FAMC that time. So even though we are not cohesive in what we are talking, basically I get that impression, and most of the work of money has happened as an individual. The day we begin to think together and plan our economy together, as our Nahar is also pointing it out, things would change profoundly. It has not been done yet. When we are asking our children to become money wise or be wise towards money and have a healthy relationship with the money, my invitation will be, let's do it to ourselves first. As Aurovillian, as a community, we have not done. The task is due. That part of yoga is still due to us. And it's never late. We are 54-year-old. We have done so much work in so many sectors. It is the first time that FAMC, a very dynamic FAMC at place, and we would be able to, or we have a very dynamic ATDC at place. The chances of community taking a grand leap is right now. Let's not burden our children with the false expectation from our side, which ourselves we have not succeeded. Why are we burdening them? So I won't burden them. But what I really look forward to see as a community, we grow a very beautiful, healthy relationship with the energy called money as a community, and have an abundance relationship, not a scarcity mindset. While in the context that 78, my community chose to go cash-focused direction, we cannot ask 30, 40 years down the line that why are we not self-sufficient? It was never our focus. Now, when I look at my unit and I look at that my kind of tiny efforts was nicely, very politely was declined, maybe we didn't need it. And I very soon realized that if 2,000 people, even that I have made clothes for them, it will take me few months and everybody will be nicely clothed. After that, what happens to the unit? It has to close down or it will continue. So very obvious call for me was that look at the market as a market and create something which is beautiful and inspirational from Auroville. And what I ended up creating, that Upasana as a unit has shifted that conversation in India of bringing consciousness in clothing. And that's Auroville gift. Bringing consciousness in the clothing sector is a very big job. It took us 17 years of work. And that has happened to our country. We are considered as one of the milestone in India where we are referred. There are curriculum has changed under Ministry of Textile. We were the case study, and there's a lot of work has happened in that. There's a conferences are where we are called as an example, we are making presentation. And what I'm seeing is not necessarily always everything will be given to us as a community in a monetary terms. We becoming a case study, Auroville gets a credit of energetic form of a grand way. Some of our project has been very, very revered to. That's Auroville's contribution. I happen to be an instrument. I'm not the one who is creating. Without her blessing, without mother's blessing behind, nothing can happen. Point I am making it that our focus that we would be self-sufficient and we will create enough wealth, which we should and we must. Our reference point has to be re-looked at. Before we make an expectation of our children to do something, we must change something in ourselves. And there always the valid point of that Auroville's contribution would be that maybe Auroville will be able to create the set of the yogi CEO, which will deal with money with a very yogic way, and India's and world's fate will be changed. Our contribution of consciousness in the sector of wealth will redefine India and redefine world. And that would be Auroville's contribution. I do not necessarily see that we would be able to do everything which we needed. The whole world, our prototyping is not for us, it's for the whole world. And whole world must participate in building Auroville. We have to focus on the energetic field which has been given to us by her. We hold it, and we hold it in the purity as Nahar is bringing. It's just a force. What is my relationship with that force is is that's where the change happens.
He wants to add something.
It was in 1976 we went for a maintenance system. Yeah. So we need to reset that. Certainly we need to reset that. Sometimes there are codes which actually possess you. And one of the codes just possessing me for the past few years was that Sri Aurobindo said, when it comes to economical problem, it should not be any Western model. It has to be a communal model which is native to India. I would say native to Asia also. This 1976 maintenance was a Western model. You give 33% and you do whatever you want with the 66% is a bad idea. We should give 100% to Auroville. And in return,
You get 100%,
Auroville looks after you 100%.
right?
That's the deal we want.
Absolutely.
That's the best deal. Win-win. This 33% you give and rest of the things that you do whatever you want is a Western model. This has to go. It won't gel well with a communal model that Sri Aurobindo wants because Mother clearly said that Auroville is for a community life. Collective yoga. So if you want to live collectively, we need to have a community model.
Right.
This is my input.
Thank you, Uma. I agree with whatever you said, apart from the fact that you said 26 years only. Well, there are many youngsters who are born after and who are entrepreneurs right now in Auroville. All right. So, coming back to what she little bit touched upon, Nahar, she said, she runs a successful entity called Upasana, and she said it's not just my making. She said there is a lot that Mother gave, or to an extent, if you look at it practically, the idea of Auroville, you ride as an individual entity also. There is this notion that Auroville, if it is a product of Auroville, it will have certain quality, it will have certain conscious approach towards it. So it will be sustainable. So when you start, you recently started an entity, and Kajimba, when you visualized it, how easy was it to, from the point of inception of the idea to actually manifesting it, and what do you think we can improve in that sphere? How can we make it easier for youngsters, or not just youngsters, any new Aurovillian to come and start working?
So I'll touch on it in a second. I just want to add one thing about the youth with money, because something I deal with personally. I work with 15 Auroville youth with
Right.
Kajimba. And I want to add to the maintenance. What's funny about the maintenance is it was started from what I heard from Dipti, for petrol and cigarettes. Because these are two things we couldn't come to a consensus on, and the community couldn't supply, so we started giving people a stipend so they could buy their petrol and cigarettes. It's kind of funny how moralism has led us down the path of money and deciding what we will and will not give people. Just as an interesting thing. For the youth, I work, so Kajimba is one of the big things I started with is youth empowerment. Because one of the things which really helped me growing up in Auroville is that the kids are used as volunteers. And what that does to them is it gives them a starvation relationship with money. What I think is we should be teaching our kids to be value positive entities. Because if you're a value positive entity, you will get back. And I'm saying value positive very consciously because money is only one such form of value, as Uma pointed out. There's many other forms of transaction for value generated to receive back. And I think if our kids are value positive and they're entrepreneurial and they generate value for the world, they will get back both in money and energetically in other forms, like free living. There are many people who live without money because they just do work which is valuable for other people. Just something I'd like to point out. As to how do we start a business in Auroville? Frankly, it's very unpleasant, and I do not recommend it. So running a business is hard enough outside. It's harder in Auroville. I spent about 8 months with talking to the FAMC to get my unit registered. The amount of learning required and just running around talking to people is unbelievable. It's extremely complex to understand the system because Auroville has a pure jugaad system, right? It's all just patchworks and workarounds.
Yeah.
And trying to understand how to run a business in that is extremely complicated.
Right.
I am someone I like systems and I'm technically quite competent.
Right.
So I managed to go run around, understand, talk to everyone, and lobby to
Right.
the FAMC. For most people, especially if they come from outside, they will just give up because it makes no sense. Our tax law is pointed out beautifully. We're basically taxing people.
Yeah.
Our tax law is hilariously bad. I mean, India has a bad tax law at this point for startups. Well, I would say if to improve it and make it easier, the first step would be documentation. Right? Is how do you do something? I want to get a business loan. Okay. You just Google it, you open an FAQ, you see business loan, how to open a unit. You
Yeah.
go there, oops, you see it. That would be the first step, is clear, simple documentation. The second step is spaces. I started Kajimba in youth center. And the kitchen was unbelievably dirty. Like, it's an open air kitchen. I had to carry my cans for about 150 meters every day
Yeah.
to boil my drinks, and I was doing A to Z by myself for about, I had one partner for 6 months, he left, and I was there for a month and a half by myself. And then I got more people in. After youth center was no more, I found the place, the community kitchen of creativity, and it's where I'm to this day.
Yeah.
Because I cannot find a space to put my unit in. So we're in a kitchen in a residential community.
Yeah.
And because I've looked around for spaces, there's no spaces to lease. And if I'm leasing a space, I'm looking at 10 lakhs of investment that I have to put in just to renovate the space and buy.
start.
Yeah, just as a base start. And then there is no money for that. So if I want to start a unit, I have to find money. If I want to find money, there is no money because there's the ABC loans on paper. That's 10% interest year over year. 10% interest business loans is hilariously bad.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense. You need literally worse than if I went outside and got a loan.
Right.
But the other option is I go outside, take a loan, and that's on my name. If the unit crashes, I take all of the risk and I get none of the benefits.
Yeah.
That's also non-functional. So, how to basically, in quick, how do we do it?
Yeah.
Easy loans and easy regulations and clarity.
Right.
And then, of course, supporting people who start businesses as opposed to trying to drag them down like lobsters.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I'd like to add about the economy, saying that the economy for Oroville the industrial zone should be used to support Oroville. This was thought up in the 60s. Our global economy is a lot less interdependent. In today's economy, we need phones, we need this mic, we need speakers, we need chairs.
Correct.
We cannot manufacture that. We will never be a phone manufacturer. That
Right.
means we will always be an importing and exporting economy,
Right.
which is something we have to come to terms with. And we say we generate value for Oroville, and then we send a lot of it out because stuff like construction, even you can do projects pro bono in Oroville. You make your money outside. That's how you bring value in.
Right.
If she sells clothes outside and she can give some donations to Oroville, that would be
Right.
very nice. Also, in my case, I sell drinks in Oroville for 45 rupees a bottle.
Right.
Outside, I sell them for 75 to 100, simply
Right.
because at 45, I have no margins. And that's, I think, simple that we have to realize that we are both majorly an exporting economy and an importer, and that's completely okay.
Right. Thank you, Nahar. Thank you. Debo, he brought very valuable practical challenges that we face today, and you have been a predecessor in that term. And I know that you are running an incubation center of sorts to help new entities to come up, and you support them with your unit. What do you think? How do you think we can make this easy, and how important is it at the juncture that we are in right now, in terms of helping making it easier, and also I would like you to throw light on you have also seen many entities. You're running the incubation center, yet there are many people who do not come and use it. So what is on the other side of the coin? How do you look at it? Why they are not coming and using it? I know that your incubation center is not being utilized to its maximum.
We are still trying to find the answer.
Yeah. There's a mismatch somewhere, no?
Yes. When we started the incubation project, our aim was that whichever startup wants to use the space, they need to align with the Oroville Chartered and the Oroville Dream
Yep.
and the true Oracle and these three documents. And these three documents, this is the only thing that is been put inside. And and the idea was to start something where we can actually contribute more to Oracle.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that we didn't have people. We had last 2 years. We had a lot of people, people coming using
yeah,
the space, but we have not seen any startup which aligned to these ideals.
Ideals
And-
of Oracle, you mean?
No, the
Ideals of the center.
Yeah, just these three documents we put up, that we want any unit which or any startup which starts has to see that how we can contribute maximum to Oracle.
First point is, how do you contribute
Yes.
maximum to Oracle?
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of the ideas which came up are very interesting. I won't say that they're very
Okay.
good ideas. In fact, if you look at in the conventional way of the economy, they'll be very successful. But I think just because of this one condition,
Acha.
we need to actually find or find the right balance how to do it. Suppose we start like someone started a cataloging models
Correct.
as a startup where there could be a catalog for models,
Yeah.
and anybody who wants to do a photo shoot or a video shoot can just have access to the catalog, which is very easy for anyone to access. And because of our diverse demography, that we can actually have so many interesting faces.
Right.
And but again, the project, like if I would have looked at it from the conventional level, we create this catalog, we tie up with some of these big ad agencies,
Yeah.
and maybe that could create some revenue for us in Oroville. But again, we did not manage to find a system how to actually give back to Oroville more, Like there are few other projects. Similarly, we tried to support,
Yep.
and still we are looking for the correct answer, correct balance.
Fair enough.
And in some of the cases, we even supported some of the existing Oroville units,
Right.
to catalog their products,
Right.
and see how these products can be easily accessible to people from outside if you're selling it online, or but still we are trying to find a balance.
Got it.
And one more thing I feel we need to, I mean, I feel that now there are, I think, few classes which are happening in some of the Oroville schools for
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, which are very good.
Yeah.
So where whenever you're starting a project, Nahar will tell, I mean, everyone here has started something, that, in the first few years, you are at it 24/7.
Yeah.
You eat the idea, you sleep the idea. You are always engaged with the idea. Even after many years, you're always engaged with the idea. You can't let it go. And that thing has to be that you are completely engaged. And sometimes you see, okay, they are there for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then not connected to the project for few weeks, months, and suddenly again turn up. And that we noticed how that can be cultivated. That okay, when you start, it needs that certain amount of energy,
Right.
that to manifest something.
Right.
So that is one thing. And I feel there are few projects which are happening, as Nahar said, I think,
Yeah.
to help startups,
Got it.
startup units and activity to open easier, because there are some documentation happening that we can actually help, even to fill up the forms for FAMC for the application and things, so that it's much easier, because maybe the person who starts may not have an idea about how to create a business plan and things. So then there are some small projects, even from the incubator, some projects have happened that we can help very basic by helping people to fill up the form so they get at least some support from it.
If I may also add one more question to you, Debo. Role of research and development.
Yes.
in Auroville, when we work, like you said, we apply, there is sincerity towards work, which when we do something, anything sincerely, you are bound to be above normal. You cannot just avoid it, because you are sincerely working towards it, if you're truly. And in that sense, at times you may also attempt to break boundaries, to kind of break the glass ceilings, and in terms of not just business ideas, in terms of also product development, research, innovation. So how do you are part of CSR. What is it that we are lacking right now, that is not encouraging Auroville to come up with grander, newer ideas? 30 years ago, we were pioneers in solar energy. We did, we are still riding on the laurels, let's say, in the 90s. Now, how do we not limit ourselves? How do we innovate, reinvent ourselves, that we do not limit ourselves being just a trader?
The as I already said, that there is a critical energy which is required, and like I remember when I came here in 2008, like we used to work from morning 7 o'clock till 2 o'clock at night, making this solar cooker, this electrical biodiesel electric car. Even before the world was making electric cars, we had made already in Auroville the electric car, and it's a hybrid between biodiesel and electric. So we did a lot of things, but again, it requires a certain intensity, certain, that engagement with the idea. And also we have to see, and for that idea, also in Auroville, what you see that sometimes there are activities which generate some income, and the excess income was actually utilized for doing this kind of research.
Okay.
So, and so we have to see now that, okay, how we can have this kind of funding, even for people who have the energy, who can come and do research. Because in research, maybe 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10 things will fail.
Right.
And maybe that 0.5%, 0.3% will be successful. But we should be willing to invest for that.
Right.
And I think it requires a lot of courage.
Correct.
And a lot of hard work.
Right.
And there has to be some funding mechanism to encourage people for this. And I feel that there are people, I feel if you have some funding mechanism, I'm sure that we can encourage more people to come forward. Because it is, when a person is doing research, and if he has to do the funding also himself, then the creativity part gets killed.
Right.
And how we have to see that not to burden the person with the creativity. Like suppose a musician has to earn his living and and practice music and things. It becomes, they are strained a lot.
Right.
And their creativity is affected. Similarly, even a scientist is a creative person.
Right.
And so we need to find mechanism how they can express their creativity.
Right.
In any form.
Okay, thank you. Prasad, coming back to you, a few points. One is that you mentioned industrial zone is the most misused space. Abused. Oh gosh. Okay.
I would say abused.
All right. So I would like to expand on that. While you do so, also be mindful that, like Debo rightly pointed out, that only 10% of the entities succeed. And we should be bold enough, courageous enough to encourage the 90% of them to fail. That is, we just know 9 out of 10 ways how it will not work. That's how we should look at it as a community. That we should not blame. Like he said, the risk is taken at the cost of individual, while the reward is being vied by everyone. We want the reward. When it is successful, we say it's a collective entity. Whereas when it starts, it's a personal risk. While you plan this zones, would you also, how do you, these are very knowledge, these are not hard knowledge, they are soft knowledge. How do you use these insights? Also, world over, right now the average lifespan of a successful enterprise is 10 years. Before it used to be, I think if I'm not wrong, 17 or 18 years. Slowly with the advent of internet, it's come down to below 10 years. Now they peak and then they go and then they die. And some of them are exceptional, some of them are lesser. So average is 10 years or less. So how do we create a space where even if we consider some of them are successful, that the entity is going to be there for only 10 years? Oro mode succeeded, it went to its peak and now it's gone. So how do we create space, the entire, I don't know how many acres, it's, I think if I'm not wrong, 200, almost 200 acres of industrial zone. How do we create it as an incubation space where anybody can come and use it? And also, mind you, there is this mismatch. It is unused because there is a mismatch. For example, he runs an incubation center, which is perhaps not fit for a manufacturing entity like a Kajimba. So how do we create dedicated incubation spaces which is fit for each sector, perhaps the IT sector or a tertiary sector or a primary sector?
Let me go back to Sri Aurobindo.
Ji.
Yeah. He said, country like India cannot survive on cottage industry. When people ask Gandhi's method of cottage industry will be good enough, he said no. Country as big as India need to have a large scale industry, and Auroville badly need a large scale industry. For example, when mother blessed Oro Food, it was the largest wheat producing industry in Asia. That was the kind of a scale that she was blessing. But what happened was that the people who came here, they were going for a small scale and cottage industry. When I came back from Australia and I said that I want to start Auroville, and I said I want to be a developer, they wouldn't allow me to be a developer. They said, oh, if you want, you can do plumbing or carpentry or painting or electrical, but you are asking for plumbing, carpentry, painting, electrical, civil and engineering and architecture, which is a very dangerous zone to go. You want to have all under your control? No, we won't give it to you. I persisted and I thought, what's this? And finally, one of the FAMC member, she said that I will resign if you don't approve this application. This kind of mindset has to change.
Okay.
We need to go for a large scale.
Yeah.
As you said, the lifespan of any technology is around 10 years. For example, Google is counting its time now, thanks to ChatGPT. And same with the people in Auroville, they also need to give way to new generation. In Auroville Charter, it says, it's a place of material and spiritual research. Mother put material research in front of spiritual research. She gave importance to it. CSR sitting there, honestly, I don't know how much research is going on there. We need to be a center of research. We should be excellent center of research. For that, my solution is simple. We need to have a partnership. We already initiated partnership agreement with the Pondicherry University. We have a MOU signed with them. It's a small beginning, but I initiated personally. I visited IIT Madras, and we are developing a partnership with them. But we should not limit to just to IIT Madras. We should go global. And I see that as the future possibility to bring life back to our industrial zone.
Okay. If I may come to Uma, he said, that individual people, when he arrived, they wanted him to do, small things like carpentry and other craft-related work. Perhaps haven't we become a community, a city of artists, where it's a great place for creativity, it's a great place for experiment, and we all come from that space. And suddenly we are exceptional individually. We are all in some way artists, and then we do not know how to make a business out of it. There are additional things, like it's when you run an entity, you are a designer yourself. So apart from being a creative person, you need to understand how market works, how the outside world works, how the packaging works, how the distribution works, how the pricing system works, how the branding works. These are all, and there is no way in our community, if you are an artist, say, I know how to make a beautiful candle. I do not know beyond that. And is it necessary for each individual, once you know your craft,
then to also go and learn these associated skills? Or as a community, can we innovate? Can we say, you know what, there are certain people in Auroville who can just do that aspect for us? Like you said, you know, if somebody can just catalog, how do we use our resources in Auroville in at most efficient, effective manner?
So this is what all the working group is struggling with. Administration is struggling with. Everybody is struggling with right now. So it has become a bit of as a large universal question which is on our face without we have no answer. But thank God we are asking this question. What is also is emerging as a new phenomenon or the spiritual forecast is that the coming time will be the yoga of collaboration. And yoga of collaboration we are not known for. We don't know how to collaborate. For me, we have just succeeded to do this Auroville festival for first time. There are a couple of entity has come together and we are holding this festival. You understand? It's a yoga of collaboration for me. And as a outside is not happening. Till last year, there was a struggle on that. It is last year we began. We are doing much better this year. Can I map this to all the sector? Can it be mapped on the economy? Most of our unit cannot work together. You see, we don't have a culture. We have not that we are to blame to each other.
Yeah.
We are the community of the potters, healers, and architects. It's still that music is still on. We are a creative people. Our creative people we just came here for looking for our sense of enlightenment and evolution, walked into Auroville and ended up doing something. That's where everybody's journey has begun. No IIM graduate has come in and saying, yay, let me do this and that's what will be my yoga. So a few years back, I was doing a course in IIM Ahmedabad, and there was this conversation on which rather Torquil is in the audience. There was a conversation between IIM Ahmedabad, the professors, and Torquil, and we were talking to them about how creative this place is and how it would be Auroville will become a very good incubation center. And they looked at saying, you already are an incubation center. Your problem is not to incubate. Your problem is you don't know how to accelerate further.
Scaling up.
Scaling is you're collapsing in that space and there is no mechanism. And no mechanism is for the very real time processes that everybody has started under a tree and under the bush and behind that kitchen and that behind that garage, something. And we are still into that space. So if that has to break into making that as a collective responsible focus towards growing wealth for the community, creating abundance for our community, and bring this Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's yoga in the world of business vibrant way. That's a task. We have not yet signed up yet, but seems we are heading towards it.
Yeah.
So with this incubation center idea, which I'm part of IEL, Integral Incubation Lab, which we have called, and we begin after the big retreat of 2015 in Auroville. There are a couple of things has begun. One was IEL, one was Line of Goodwill, and then a lot of people from the business sector had come together to focus on saying, let's create a lab which will do this, which will facilitate the journey of the newcomers.
Right.
And it soon kind of fizzled out with a similar reason which Devo is talking about, and the need which Nahar is saying is still remains into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to seriously look into, and I remember Lakshay, you had also mentioned this 2 years back, that it's time to create one platform which does the branding and positioning what beautiful product we do and packaging and so on, and not have all the creative people trying to figure it out some way.
Yeah.
And this is going on.
Yeah.
So it is standing just outside of our doorstep to put this awareness into this. How do you do that where we have a problem of kind of not taking things seriously, not working and giving 100%. We want to work 2 hours and then after come back or 3 weeks and revisit where things are. And I say, oh, but mother will do that. Oh, no, I have that retreat. Oh, no. So this lack of this spiritual discipline to commit to an idea and make it manifest is a yoga.
Correct.
And we have some task in that pending for us. And as a community, there are 2-3 things I see we have to do it. One is to see it money as a force, as a neutral force, and honor it, give the due respect. And let industrial zone did not be a misuse or abused space. We're trying to be polite, but he's just being blunt. Okay, you like to be blunt.
New
So
ATDC.
if it is, if that has to be honored, if the industry of Auroville has to be honored, and our entrepreneur are the hero which we can learn to celebrate them. Energetically, we will be ready to make an investment of a greater kind, which will be spiritually, energetically, materially, and with all our capacity, we will come up with a model will be awesome. And that's what I see it.
Right. Thank you. Time is running short, so I'm going to come to you and I'm going to throw you a 2-pronged question. She talked about this commitment to work. Let's look at the number of units in Auroville. We have about, if I'm not wrong, 700 to 800. 700. For the adult resident population of 1,800. We have 700 units. Yeah. That's kind of funny to an extent. And then we look at the number of 700 entities versus the amount of resources that we generate, the money that we generate is somehow not commensurating the effort that we put in. Perhaps there lies the aspect of commitment. There are many who start an entity just to say that they're working, and then there is this, they spend 2-3 hours a month and then it's just lying around. It's just namesake. And I know you work day in, day out. I see you working alone sometime on Sundays also. And there is this one aspect of not committing, and then there is another aspect of you putting your 100%. It's your baby, like he said, you dreaming about it, you living with it, and then you incubate. After a few years, the attachment grows closer to it. It becomes your thing. And then how do you also detach yourself? So that it becomes, when you detach yourself, then it becomes a thing of everyone else. Otherwise, it becomes only a Nahar's project. And then later, nobody wants to take it up. Like I see this unfortunate demise of Oro Mode like that.
Or more than half of other brands.
Yeah.
So I think for the first question,
Yeah.
as to the low value generated per unit,
Yeah.
the answer is we're doing a lot of double work. Basically, everyone is trying to do exporting, right? We're all trying to do branding, exporting.
Right.
We're all going around India and trying to find clients.
Right.
And that's extremely time consuming. So what happens is 700 units are basically doing the same work again and again and again.
That's so true.
It's something that I want to look into now. It's just setting up an entity which takes products and sends them out. That handles all of the logistics to get them to clients and all of the client handling.
Right.
So that people can make just candles or just incense or just clothes and just give to this entity and they send it out.
Right.
Because one of the big things in business is economies of scale.
Right.
And we've basically done is we've shot ourselves in the foot of economies of scale.
Correct.
And we're going at 700 tiny sub-cottage industry units
Right.
most of the time.
Right.
And we're surprised we're not getting anywhere. No one wants to work for a unit that has 2 products.
Right.
I've seen that myself. If we go with 800 or 2,000 products, we become a very interesting vendor and we'll have a very easy time and we'll stop chasing our own tails.
Correct.
As to the ownership of units, it's something that for me, it's very important to hand it on.
Yeah.
Because I want to be doing other things, right? I want to start this and it self-powers because there are people who like creating and there are people who like running.
Yes.
I enjoy creating. I absolutely hate operations.
Right.
I do it out of necessity, but it's not what I enjoy. And I think one of the big things there is once we start seeing units as collective ownership, it will move forward. Because the moment you make someone invest all their money, fight to manifest, and then you're like, it's ours, right? That's where the problem becomes because we're trying to cling on.
Right.
Because, I have to keep, because I have put so much effort into it. And and then you want to take it away from me. What is this? If we are investing in collectively, then we'll be, and getting out collectively, it will move on. It's something with Kajimba. I work with 15 youth, right? So the average age is about 17, 18. And I have 3 17-year-olds, so doing about 80% of the operations right now, and I'm trying to hand over 100%. The day run it, I'll be there with the presence, but it's they're handling it, they give the direction. And that's just a bit of stepping back from the ego and the I and saying, for me with Kajimba, had it been just my work, it would never have happened. For me, I'm just an instrument of the divine that it's being manifested through me. The amount of fortune Kajimba has had is endless. Pure coincidence, we should have died 100 times. And yet it's somehow, things always happen on time. And I look at that as the divine's grace. When things are going more difficult, you're like, am I going the wrong direction? Maybe, I should be going this way. And as long as you walk in that attitude, I think it will move, the idea comes and you've created an idea, you've manifested it, and it runs its own route on the world. And that's a beauty we have to learn to appreciate.
Beautiful. It's very encouraging to hear that from an youngster of Oroville. A last note from everyone, please.
Yeah. There was few years back it was a conference in Paris, and somebody asked a question to us, and the question was, why do you work so hard for a unit which is not even yours? And we tend to forget that in Oroville. And we tend to, when we become critical and start asking things, we lose it that all the units are a service, basically.
Yes.
And all the units there is no difference between service unit and business unit. Everything is at the service to the community. There is no ownership. Nobody has that. We have forgotten to acknowledge this aspect in the community and rather have created a lot of confusion, which has been non-productive in a way.
Yeah.
And that has also meant that we even forgotten to celebrate our own heroes because we look them differently. And it's time to bring that awareness, the sense of deep spirituality which Mother has coded us into the work of Oroville and the lifestyle of Oroville. Let's honor it. Let's honor our heroes. Let's give them recognition and celebrate them before we become too quickly critical about. And that's my only request. And I would like to thank Oroville Festival's team to taking this invocation towards the industrial zone, towards the economy of Oroville, and invoking this aspiration for future that we can truly create abundance in society together.
Thank you. Thank you.
When I took up my role in Lavani the Oroville, I had a chance to sit with my IMC members. Most of them are Orovillians. And I said, have you ever come across a passage where Mother put 7 conditions to be a true Orovillians? They said, never. We never come across that. I believe that if only we meet the first condition to be a true Orovillian, that is to find your psychic being, and then run our business from the psychic sense, and realize that we are a servant of the divine consciousness. And somebody wrote recently to Lavani the Oroville that Mother expected you to have a goodwill. You don't need to be a yogi. I reflected on it for a while. Yes, Mother expected you to have the goodwill as a starting point, but the ending point is that your will is none other than divine's will. For that, you need to do yoga. You can have an entry point when you have a goodwill, but if you prefer to sit with a goodwill, I would say goodwill is not good enough. If you prefer to stay there. But we need to make the transition from goodwill to divine will. That we need to do. I recently read one more thing, with that I will close. Mother said, if you offer something to the divine and then you talk about it, what is the point for divine to remember that? And if you're bragging about it, I know some of the Orovillians who said, oh, I contributed this much. last year in particular, they said, oh, I worked 54 years. Yeah, that was 54 years, now 55, I think. Of my life to Auroville. There is a saying in Tamil, what you give, your right hand gives, should not known by the left hand. That is how you surrender. But Mother said, if you talk about what you have offered to divine, you are not surrendering. You are only doing it for your vanity. So this is what we have. We are seeing people say, oh, I offered my 55 years of life. I would say, please don't do that. That means your offering is wasted. But you can reset it and restart it. But you spoiled it. That's my closing remarks.
All right, kind of you, Debo. Thank you very much. This was today's conversation on the industrial zone. Tomorrow, the theme of the day is Mahalakshmi, and the thing that we are going to focus on is abundance. And we will be talking about the green zone and the 4 parks in the city conversations. Thank you very much for joining today. Thank you. Have a good day. And before you leave, we have a toast of appreciation. Thank you, Nilima.
Thank you.
Nice.